You don't realize it when it happens. A thought appears and suddenly you're lost in it, not noticing it, not watching it, but living through it. It becomes the lens you see through, the voice you believe, the place you reside. But here's the shift that changes everything. A thought can be present without being true, without being you, without needing a response. Thoughts don't become a problem when they arise. They only become a problem when we lose the distance between us and them. Distance doesn't mean pushing thoughts away. It doesn't mean silencing your mind, and it definitely doesn't mean thinking positively. It means allowing a thought to be there while remembering this is a thought, not a command, not a fact, not the truth of who I am. Because the moment you see a thought as a thought, not as the truth, something changes. Your body releases, your breath softens, and choice quietly returns. Then you find you're no longer lost. You're in relationship. And it's that relationship, not the contents of your thoughts, that determines whether you suffer or remain free. Most people try to change their lives by changing their thoughts, arguing with them, replacing them, correcting them, overpowering them. But that approach misses something fundamental. The thoughts that cause the most suffering aren't the loud ones. They're the automatic ones. The ones that slip unnoticed and say things like, "This isn't enough. I'm behind. Something's wrong with me. This always happens." And before you know it, your body tightens. Your chest contracts. Your nervous system braces. Not because the thought is true, but because it's familiar. And your body follows. Here's something important to understand. Automatic thoughts aren't random. They're learned responses. They formed at a time when your system was trying to protect you, trying to make sense of the world, trying to keep you safe, accepted, or connected. So instead of seeing them as enemies, it can be helpful to look at them as old strategies. Outdated ones, but by no means malicious. The problem begins when we relate to these thoughts as if they're reporting reality, when we treat them like facts instead of patterns, when we collapse into them so fully that we forget there's anyone here having the thought. That collapse is what creates suffering, not the thought itself, but the loss of relationship with it. So what does it look like to change that relationship? It starts incredibly simply. The next time an automatic thought appears, instead of following it, fixing it, or believing it, you pause. Not to analyze, not to correct, just to notice. Ah, a thought is here. And then, and this is the important bit, you bring your attention to your body. Because a thought doesn't just happen inside your head, it lands somewhere. Maybe your jaw tightens, maybe your stomach sinks, maybe your chest feels heavy or compressed. But this is where the real change happens. Not in the story, but in your capacity to stay present with the experience of the thought, without being consumed by it. Most of us were never taught how to do this. We were taught to be reasonable, to stay composed, to move on quickly, to not make a big deal out of it. So when a difficult thought arises, we either believe it completely or try to get rid of it as fast as possible. But both responses abandon contact. A healthier relationship looks different. It says, "I see you, I'm here, you're allowed to exist, but you don't get to run the show." That might be subtle, but for the nervous system, it's huge. Because safety doesn't come from positive thinking, it comes from presence. Over time, something begins to shift. Thoughts still arise, but they don't grip so tightly. They pass through more easily. They lose their authority, not because you've fought them, but because you've stopped feeding them with belief. You start to experience space. Space between you and the thought. Space between impulse and action. Space where choice lives. And in that space, a deeper intelligence becomes available. Not the voice that rushes, judges, or predicts, but the quieter knowing of the body. The part of you that senses when something is off, or when something is true, or when it's time to move or time to wait. That gets drowned out when you're lost in automatic thinking. Changing the relationship with your thoughts doesn't mean you'll never feel fear, doubt, or uncertainty again. It means when they show up, you won't disappear. You'll stay. You'll remain in contact with yourself instead of handing over your authority to an old narrative. And slowly, something profound happens. Life stops feeling like something you have to manage or control or figure out in your head. You start living from contact instead of commentary, from presence instead of prediction. This is why real inner work isn't about mastering your mind. It's about learning how to be with it, with curiosity, with steadiness, with enough distance to know I am the one noticing, not that which is being noticed. So the next time your mind tells you a familiar story, pause, feel your body. Let the thought be there and gently remind yourself, this is a thought, not the truth, not my identity, just something passing through. That single shift, repeated patiently over time, changes everything. If this resonates and you feel like you've been living at the mercy of automatic thinking for years, this is the work I do with people. Not forcing, not fixing, but rebuilding a safer, more honest relationship from the inside out. Click the link in the description below to book a one-on-one call with me. And if you're looking for more videos like this one, subscribe.